This year, my first read sparked a sort of like ember that has turned into a flame of my love of vampire media. Vampire media has spanned back since the 18th century. At the time, the societal fears built this story of death and famine and cannibalism, and changed into other fears / dark desires that people had, such as eternal life and power and otherness / sexuality / forbidden desires. My first read of the year, A Dowry in Blood by S.T. Gibson, sort of sparked and really was the first vampire story that got under my ribs and made me really enjoy / love the metaphors that come along with the idea of eternal life, of good and evil, of love and possessiveness. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lachey, and today we're going to be talking about vampire books and TV shows that I really enjoy and I think you might enjoy too. So the first book, as I mentioned, is by S.T. Gibson. Last time I checked, it's on Kindle Unlimited, and it follows Constanta, and essentially is written in the place of the last love letter / confessions of the first wife of Dracula. It is such a rich, brothy, dark vampire love story that delves into, I guess, our self-identity / the connection that we might have to the love and what it makes us. And it snowballs into sort of darkness and the willingness to either have freedom or love. It also has a polyamorous couple that I really enjoyed, and this is coming from someone who has never been a why choose or a multiple partner book reader, but something about Constanta and the narration and following her through centuries and seeing the humanness of her desire to love and be loved and to be needed in her relationships and how she views the world. And everything about the story is like delicious to me. It got under my ribs and has stuck with me. It's almost been a full year since I've read it because it was my first read. Yeah, so it's just rich and delves into sort of, I think, like a classic vampire story. We meet Constanta on the night that she is reborn or murdered, and she does not even remember her new name. The person who changes her names her, and at the very beginning of the story, it states that we don't get to hear the person's name, and so she thinks it only fair that since he changed her, that she do the same, and that his name would have no place in the records. But again, it's like written as like, this is Dracula's first wife. It is so good. And like all vampire love stories, very toxic, but engaging in a way that I still have not gotten over. And I don't think that the itch has been scratched, and I doubt it ever will be. That's my first book recommendation. I really enjoyed it. I think that you should read it. And it's sort of your classic vampire story, centuries of life, delicious. Like, it is a really good read with wonderful quotes that will leave you thinking, and everything classically vampire. It is queer, poetic, and beautiful. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. It has driven me to the point of creation. I really want to be able to paint one of the scenes in this book because it was just so like vivid and carnal, and I loved everything about it. So that would be my first recommendation. This next book I would like to talk about is The Immortal Dark by Tigis and Guillermo. I hope I'm saying that right. This is a upper YA, dark academia, secret society kind of book. I really enjoyed it as well. It is following our main character, Kidan, and she comes from a kind of rare bloodline in the sense that in this world, humans and vampires made an alliance that vampires could only drink from certain bloodlines, and hers is one of those. Her twin sister and her are orphans, and her twin sister goes missing. She will stop at nothing to get her sister back, and goes as far as to joining this elite, secret society kind of school, and is housed with the very vampire that she thinks has taken her sister. It is very cat and mouse. It is very dark. Like his darkness and murderous intent calls to all of the things in her that are very dark and visceral, and it is like such a good, interesting book. The second one comes out in November, and I highly recommend it. If you want vampires but dark academia, it is really good. And next book that I would like to talk about is The Poisoner by Ivy Ophelia. It is a story following a botanist whose name is Alina. She is a botanist by day and secretly a poisoner by night. So it is back in, I forget forget what it's called, but basically like Bridgerton, but it's Regency sort of era, a little past that maybe. She gives poisons to brothels for men who get a little bit rough and can be a bit much. She catches the eye of a vampire, and this is a true cat and mouse situation. She is intrigued by clearly like this creature that he is, and he is very much a like vampire. I feel like in a lot of media, vampires are presented as mostly human with, I guess, just a different diet and some powers. But in this, he's very animalistic and very impulsive, and she's intrigued like a scientist is with a new creature, and he finds her to be so intriguing. At first, it's dual POV, I believe. Yeah, and at first, I think it is a desire to just like toy with her before he kills her, and it snowballs into something else. I will say, look up the trigger warnings. I loved this book. The first 80%, the last 20% to 15%, look up the trigger warnings. And I have never been so upset with an ending in my life. I don't know that I will read the second book, but if you are hardier and you want like a true Gothic horror, dark romance vampire book, this is for you. I think most of it was so good. I loved Silas until the very end. If I read the second book and it fixes that or changes it, which you really can't fix it if it's what I think. You know what I mean? You don't know what I mean. If you've read it, then you know what I mean. I think it is engaging and dark and Gothic, and I really enjoyed it, and I think that you would enjoy it as well. The movie I'm going to talk about is going to be Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. That might sound like a weird one, but if you're getting into vampires, I think this one is fun because it deals with history, but with a twist. So we're set in Civil War times, and it is Abraham Lincoln before he's president, and he finds out about a secret evil that they're not knowing that they're facing, and it's vampires, and he becomes trained in being a vampire hunter, and he's horrible with a gun, so he takes up an axe. And I liked that movie a lot. My sister and I have watched it like almost too many times. If you just want sort of a Civil War but action vampire movie, then that is the one for you. I really enjoyed it. What I talk about is another like true vampire story, and it is none other than Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire, but it's the TV show. I too watched the movies when I was little, and I think I liked them. I was never in love with them, but again, not until A Dowry in Blood did I feel this pull or understanding that people had about the enjoyment of vampires. I could kind of philosophize the idea of immortality, of sexuality, of power, the idea that to love a vampire or be loved by a vampire is to sort of be needed. Like I understood that, / like this knowing that they're holding back, or yeah, I liked the idea of vampires, but I never loved them until that book. I never like wanted to read all the books that had vampires in them. So anyway, the TV show as well, I'm watching season 1 right now, so I'm really steeped in vampires between my current read, Bare Bones in the Midnight Soil, and this TV show. But I find the TV show is actually really good. I like it a lot. Once again, very toxic. I find that something with the immortal seems to always have toxicity. You'd think that with all the time in the world, it would grow more patience, but there's even more possessiveness and I guess a entitledness to things belonging to them. Most all vampire things in the story, they are entitled. They've been around so long that they, I think of themselves as higher, well, definitely higher than humans, but more akin to a god than like a person, which is normally their folly. I really love, like I'm into vampires right now, if you can't tell. So Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire, of course, it's following an interviewer, and they get the opportunity to talk with a real life vampire, and we get the life story and the love story between Louis and Lestat, and it's really good. In this TV show though, we are in present time. It is the second going of the interview. So the first time was when they were 19 and it was not completed. So in the movie, it's just the one time. In the TV show, it is started and incompleted, and the interviewer is now older, having an ailment that is non-curable, and the vampire is more controlled now and ready to really tell the story truly, which I think is really cool. And season 2 so far has been very good. And if you want like another sort of true vampire story, or you want to get into the media and give it a real go, it's like a great place to start. And I definitely would like to try to read the books because she's like the mother of vampire stories. Castlevania, if you want an animated but very good vampire story, there's just like nothing better. First of all, it's Dracula, and then we get a vampire like hunter bloodline, but he's like the last one in his family who does this, and also a drunkard. And we team up with a witch and another vampire, all with the one goal of taking down Dracula, who has basically damned the whole world, but like also really just like a town or a country. It snowballed, okay? But it was damned the world because they killed his true love, which I just think, like, personally for me, I don't think he really did anything wrong. Did things get out of hand? Sure. But I think like killing a woman because she's a scientist and educated and helping, I think that those are the villains, okay? And I think that Dracula is just a man in love. And I always support a woman's wrongs, but I also support a man being unable to cope if his woman is hurt. That TV show is amazing, and it has a lot more to do than with Dracula. We're really not following him, but I would just like to say I love Dracula in that TV show. And if I was Lisa Tepesh, I'd be pretty happy. She's dead, so I guess I wouldn't be, but like, so good. If you want a part 2, please let me know. I love talking vampires. The last thing I'm going to talk about is Sinners by Ryan Coogler. He is, to me, one of the best directors we have right now. I find him so inspirational. Or he is like the director of Black Panther, but Sinners is its own world, and I think really stapled him in to having his own name and kind of power outside of Marvel. It follows twins, my man Smoke, and do I remember the other one's name? No. My man Smoke and his brother and their cousin Sammy Boy, or aka Preacher Boy, and it follows them on 24 hours, which you think is not long, but the movie is done so perfectly. The backdrop is in the deep south. We're going to plantations, there are clubs, there's love, and a final sunrise. It is so good. It might not be vampires exactly in the way that you're thinking, but go in blind, because I think that it's just such a rich kind of classic vampire, but with a twist. I love everything about it. And it also deals with the power, to me, of ancestral connections through music. And I just love so much about it. So if you've watched it, then you know, and I think it's spectacular. And if you haven't watched it and you're a chicken, like, that's okay, because I think it was really sold as like a scary movie / vampires. You probably won't be afraid. Like, you can watch it even as a chicken, I could say that. These are some of the media that I would recommend that I have watched or read and I really enjoyed. And I think if you're trying to get into vampires, but maybe you're not thinking like Twilight, or you're not thinking A Discovery of Witches, then this is like a really good gateway into that. My current read is also vampires. It is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, who I really enjoy as an author. And we're following Alice, who is modern day. She goes to a party and hooks up with someone. The next day is completely different and basically concludes that she's dead and also a vampire. And that might sound comedic because I feel like the way that I said it does, but it's also following a main character from the 1800s who is a vampire and dissatisfied with her life, is like the most insatiable, unsatisfied character I think I've ever read. I don't really like her, but I hope that she grows and changes. It is so far a toxic, sapphic vampire story. I'm really enjoying it. I would like to say before I finish that I really don't like Sabine, and I'm like, she's a very selfish, kind of bad, small-minded person. And she was before she was a vampire, and she has not gotten better as a vampire. And even with centuries of being with her, I just don't like her. And every connection she forms, when she loses them, she feels better. And yeah, she's just like not my kind of girl. But I do enjoy, I guess, bad characters. I would give it, and I'm happy I remembered. So I would love to read Carmilla. I find I love queerness and vampires, and I wonder why they always connotate. I think there is something really beautiful about that. And it's like the only time that I read queer women, which sounds bad. Like I've read a lot of MLMs in different type of romance, like mafia or sports, but there's something about sapphic love for women that just feeds me. I love it so much. So I'd love to read Carmilla because the idea of like an OG sapphic vampire love story really hits me. I'd love to read the Vampires of El Norte. I like being in Spain. That's like my favorite thing about Sabine is that we start with her in Spain. And there's something about that time period and Spain altogether that I just really liked. I've recently read The Familiar and that was also set in Spain. I just think I like Spain and it's time to book a trip there. And also I would like to read An Education in Malice. That's also by S.T. Gibson. And at this point, she changed the chemistry in my brain, so I should give the next book a go. I hope that you found some recommendations in this video that you like. I hope that you'll leave me some recommendations if you've read vampire books that you really enjoy. Thank you for watching this video, and wherever you are in this world, I hope you're having a wonderful day, evening, night, and life, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.